Honorable Leader of Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I'm very pleased to rise and bring greetings on the observance of Spiritual Baptist Liberation Day, which is the day when we, as the national community, acknowledge and pay tribute to the brave struggle of our brothers and sisters of that faith for equality, justice, and the right to practice their religion. But let's look back a bit, Mr. President, at the history of what we are observing. Mr. President, in 1917, the colonial legislature, the Legislative Council of the day, had passed the Shouters Prohibition Ordinance of 1917, which, and I'm paraphrasing the third section of the ordinance, made it a criminal offense for any person to hold or take part in or to attend any shouters meeting in any part of the then colony, whether those meetings were held indoors or in the open air or at any time of the day or night. And moreover, Mr. President, that ordinance gave very intrusive powers to the police to enter any estate, house, or place without a warrant where a shouters meeting was being held, and to demand and take the names and addresses of all persons present at that meeting. While that law was in force, Mr. President, worshippers were arrested, beaten, and jailed if caught practicing their religion. Mr. President, unfortunately, that institutionalized discrimination went on for over 3 decades, and there were frequent calls to remove the ban, including those from famous labor leader Uriah Buzz Butler, who advocated for religious freedom in the colony. In 1940, in a united body called the West Indian Evangelical Spiritual Baptist Faith, under the leadership of Elton George Griffith, presented a petition to the Legislative Council for the ordinance to be repealed. A committee of the council was set up in 1950 to look at the issue, and the report of that committee noted that the only justifications for the ban were that the shouters were disturbing public peace, and their rituals were thought of as gross, in inverted commas, or degrading by colonial standards. However, Mr. President, some on the committee argued that the 1917 law was discriminatory and draconian, in that it targeted African customs and forced the practitioners of the religion underground. That was in 1950. After much lobbying, Mr. President, the Shouters Prohibition Repeal Ordinance number 20 of 1951 was passed on the 30th of March 1951, hence the observance of that date and the observance of an official public holiday, which was granted to the Spiritual Shouter Baptists by the United National Congress government. In 1996. But there is more, Mr. President. In 2000, the United National Congress government passed the Miscellaneous Laws Act, number 85 of 2000, which removed restrictions on drumming and singing in the Summary Courts Act so that they did not apply to religious ceremonies. That 2000 Act also created a new criminal offense for any person to attack, ridicule, or vilify another person's religion in a manner likely to cause a breach of the peace. So, Mr. President, I think with respect that it is only right that we use this opportunity and this observance of this aspect of our shared history to reflect on how far we have come and how far we must go. You see, Mr. President, we all should know, or at least appreciate, that a version of Westminster was sent from the banks of the Thames and transplanted right here next to Woodford Square. So let us, Mr. President, pause and reflect on the remnants of plantation and colonial-era models of governance that we still have, and whether they promote injustice, discrimination, and elitism, and whether these arrangements are truly representative of the people in a modern liberal democracy such as Trinidad and Tobago. And Mr. President, very, very recent developments at Westminster should provide a clear signal to all of us. So, Mr. President, as we pay tribute, we acknowledge and we celebrate, we would be right to use the tribulations and eventual victory of the Shouter Baptist community as a catalyst for our further development as a nation. So, Mr. President, in closing, today we on the government side salute the Shouter Baptist community. We acknowledge their struggle for justice and we celebrate their freedom with them. On behalf of the government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago and those of us on this side of the chamber, we wish Happy Shouter Baptist Liberation Day to the Shouter Baptist community in particular, and indeed to the entire national community. I thank you.